I walked out with nothing but my mind, business betrayal, and the calmest win of all. My name is Lauren Whitaker. I'm 39 years old, and for 13 years, I built a company that moved temperature-sensitive medical products across 3 states without missing deadlines, without broken compliance, and without ever asking my family to save me. Then they stole it from me over dinner. Not in a boardroom. Not in court. Not in some dramatic hostile takeover with men in expensive suits. No. Under chandelier light? With folded napkins. With smiling faces. Like it was a toast instead of an execution. My mother slid a leather folder across the table. My sister opened it. I saw the transfer papers before anyone said a word. Then my mother lifted her glass and said, "You've carried this long enough? It's time your sister had stability." People clapped. Clapped. Because they thought they were watching some beautiful family succession story. My father leaned back, looked me right in the eye, and added, "You'll stay on?" "Of course. You work under her now. She deserves something secure. She has kids." My sister didn't stop them. Didn't even look embarrassed. She just put her hand on the folder like it had always been hers. That dinner scene, the transfer folder, and Lauren being told to work under her sister are the core setup of the source text. I laughed once. Because sometimes laughing is the only thing between you and felony-level honesty. Then I stood up, pushed my chair in carefully enough to make them think I'd accepted it, and walked out. I hadn't accepted anything. I was done. Outside that hotel in downtown Chicago, the cold air felt cleaner than anything inside. I walked 3 blocks in heels that hated me and ended up in a 24-hour diner with burnt coffee and fluorescent lighting. That's where I called Tessa Monroe. Tessa looked at my face, sat down in the booth, and asked the one question nobody in my family had ever asked me. "What do you want now?" "Lorraine?" Not what they expected. Not what I could survive. What I actually wanted. And the truth hit me so hard it almost made me cry. I wanted out. I wanted my own name on something nobody could vote me out of. I wanted contracts, systems, and ownership so clean, no family dinner could ever touch it again. I wanted a business built on competence, not bloodline theater. Then came the fear. What if I failed? What if they laughed and said I was nothing without them? Tessa handed me back my phone and said, "Then let failure come after you try. Not before." That line saved me. So right there in that diner, I deleted the old company shortcut from my favorites, removed myself from the family operations chat, and archived every message thread that had trained me to confuse usefulness with love. The diner conversation with Tessa and Lauren's choice to leave the family system are directly reflected in the uploaded story. The next morning, I got up before sunrise. Because betrayal doesn't believe in letting you sleep like a normal person. My phone was lighting up. My mother. My father. My sister telling me to calm down. Calm down. That's always such a magical phrase. Isn't it? Like a woman being robbed politely should have the decency to regulate everyone else's feelings. So I got to work. For 13 years. I had built the operational spine of that company. Emergency routing systems. Vendor decision trees. Chain of custody procedures. Contingency plans for cold storage failures at 2 in the morning while everyone else panicked. Yes. Some of it lived in documents and systems. But the real engine lived in me. That was the part my family never understood. They thought they were taking a company. What they were really doing was testing whether a shell could survive after removing the skeleton. I went through every personal folder, cloud drive, and device. I revoked convenience access, removed branded templates, cleaned out saved drafts, personnel notes, vendor guidance, all the little unpaid things I had built on my own time to keep their machine running. Not sabotage. Discipline. By 10 o'clock that morning, I had formed Whitaker Response Logistics. Plain name. Sharp purpose. No cute branding. No family shine. Just clarity. Emergency cold chain transport strategy. Continuity planning. High-risk medical logistics recovery. I wanted a name that sounded expensive in a crisis. Then I made a short list of trusted contacts and sent 5 carefully written emails. No emotional oversharing. No dramatic rebirth announcement. Just facts. I had launched an independent firm. I was available for specialized support. I'd welcome a private conversation if the need arose. And when I hit send, it felt less like email and more like a dare against my own fear. The source explicitly details Lauren forming Whitaker Response Logistics, cleaning up access, and sending targeted outreach to trusted contacts. The first few weeks were not glamorous. Not cinematic music. No pretty montage. Just exhaustion in a blazer. I worked from my apartment. My car. Borrowed tables. Hotel lobbies. And once from a hallway outside a conference room because the signal was better there than in the cafe downstairs. Then the first real crack of light came. A director from a regional oncology network called me directly. A refrigerated shipment had gone sideways. Backup routing was failing. And she said the sentence that changed everything. I was hoping you were available. You were always the one who actually fixed things. That's when I knew I hadn't imagined my own value. Then another call came. Then another. A compounding pharmacy. A lab administrator. A retainer offer. A referral. Momentum is strange. At first it feels invisible. Like dragging a dead truck uphill in the dark. Then one day, you realize it's moving under its own weight. By month 2, I had active consulting relationships, recurring interest, a small office suite, a coffee machine that sounded personally offended every morning, and something I hadn't felt in a long time. Stability that belonged to me. Meanwhile, the family company started wobbling. At first it was whispers. Then facts. Delayed renewals. Turnover. Clients asking sharper questions. One hospital procurement executive wrote the most satisfying sentence I have ever read in professional email. To be candid, our confidence was with you, not the transition. I read that line 3 times. Not because I was surprised, because there is something deeply healing about reality, finally saying out loud what you were forced to swallow in silence. The growth of Lauren's new company and the decline of the old family-run one are documented throughout the middle section of the source. The old company wasn't failing because I cursed it. It was failing because my sister treated margins like strategy and competence like an accessory. She cut costs in the wrong places. Ignored experienced staff. Downgraded standards. talk to long-term clients like they were loyal to the family name instead of the standards I had spent 13 years earning. Within 8 weeks, they lost major accounts. Then my sister texted, then begged, then met me in public, looking polished in the same way expensive people often look when they're using wardrobe as emotional scaffolding. She asked me to come back. First under her, then beside her, then as a strategic partner. I told her no. She said I was being stubborn. I told her, very calmly, I'm not being stubborn. I'm being expensive. That shut her up for a second. Later, my mother called and finally said the quiet part out loud. She knew my sister wasn't built for the pressure the way I was. But they gave it to her anyway because, in my mother's words, she needed something secure. You always land on your feet. That sentence explained my entire family. Give the burden to the capable daughter. Give the reward to the easier one. Then call that love. Lauren later confronts Megan and her mother, who admit in different ways that Lauren's competence made them think she could absorb the loss while her sister needed the company more. Eventually, I made one offer. Not rescue. Not reunion. Not a noble sacrifice for family. À condition. My sister would publicly tell the truth. On the company's professional channels. No spin. No vague language. No family fog. She would admit the transition was mishandled. That expertise had been ignored. That staff concerns were dismissed. That I had built the foundation they treated like furniture. She did it. And it cost her. Good. Some truths are supposed to. I reviewed one recovery plan. Introduced one smaller client opportunity. Then stepped back. The old company survived. But barely. They never recovered the lost revenue. The bank tightened oversight. The illusion died. Whitaker Response Logistics, on the other hand, kept growing. By month 6, we signed the biggest agreement of my career. A 7-figure emergency response and continuity contract with a multi-state specialty care network. I framed one sentence from that deal and kept it in my office. Leadership credibility matters more than legacy structure. That wasn't just a business insight. That was my whole life in one line. The final act includes Lauren's accountability condition, Megan's public video, partial survival of the old company, and Lauren landing a major 7-figure contract. So yes, 5 months later, they begged. But the moment that changed my life wasn't the begging. It was the walking out. Because that was the moment I finally understood something no one can steal unless you hand it over yourself. They could take the office, the title, the polished family story, the seat at the table, but they could not take the mind that built it. And I didn't hand that over. I sharpened it. I rebuilt with it. I made it mine. That's the truth under every revenge story worth hearing. Winning is not destroying the people who underestimated you. Winning is building a life they can no longer control, rename, or claim as theirs.